If you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button. Subscribe and stay informed. Addicted to Macintosh. Hi, there's a new retro console out just in time for the holidays. The Atari 2600 Plus is available on Amazon for $129, is the most retro of retro consoles. It's actually compatible with original Atari 2600 and 7800 cartridges. The new system includes backward and forward compatibility with the joysticks. You can use an original joystick with this model, or use this model's joysticks with your old Atari. That's neat. It has a USB-C power cable and an HDMI port so that you can plug into your nice big 4K TV. The little Atari logo lights up. It all looks very retro and sleek and is sure to catch guests' eyes when they visit. Nobody would be blamed for thinking it's just an original Atari console. Unfortunately, these nice features are not enough to justify the Atari 2600 Plus price tag, or make it that compelling of a system for someone like me. While I can see die-hard collectors, Atari fans and anyone who might take comfort in the nostalgia of Atari-era gaming enjoy this. As part of their collection, it's a much tougher sell for the rest of us. Unlike other retro consoles from Nintendo and Sega and so forth, these games are genuinely old. I can still enjoy the original Mario, maybe because it's the first console game I ever played, but also because it still plays pretty well. Atari games are so old that, at least for me, they're just not very fun. The joysticks are stiff. Controls are clunky. In fact, I'm pretty sure the word clunky was created to describe how these games play. The system comes with a 10-in-1 cartridge that includes Adventure, Combat, Dodge M, Haunted House, Maze Craze, Missile Command, Real Sports Volleyball, Surround, Video Pinball, and Yar's Revenge, all of which can be selected using a frustrating dipstick system on the cartridge itself. There is no built-in menu for the console, no ability to save or rewind games. None of the modern convenience is added to other retro consoles are present. You trade those for the ability to pop in your old Atari cartridges. When Atari released its arcade game Pong as a pre-programmed dedicated home gaming unit, it was a monumental hit and soon mimicked by every electronics manufacturer imaginable. In just a few years, shelves were flooded with clones and variations, some even going as far as to use the same microchip. To maintain their position as the industry leader, Atari co-founder Nolan Bushnell sought to create a new generation of video game systems. To do this, Atari purchased Cyan Engineering, who had already been working on a new console technology under the codename Stella. How early video games worked. At the time, all home video game consoles used the mathematics-based logic technology, where variables were used to determine relations and deduction. This enabled the same or similar graphics to be reused in a limited number of basic games. The technique was innovated by Ralph Bayer's Brown Box military project that eventually became the Magnavox Odyssey. This is also why all the home video games of the first generation of consoles all looked the same. Finding and developing the right tech, instead of the logic technology, Cyan's Stella project utilized a central processing unit, CPU called MOS Technology 6502, an 8-bit microprocessor that was introduced in 1975 as the least expensive processor on the market. This allowed program information to be processed from a microchip quickly without breaking the bank. The next question was how to deliver multiple game programs from an external source. In 1972, Hewlett-Packard started using ROM cartridges, a shell housing a read-only memory chip containing a program file that connected to the computer via the cartridge slot. The ROM cartridges offered the perfect solution for Stella. Game files were stored on the ROM cartridge via the addition of a random access memory, RAM, chip, and the MOS Technology 6502 processor read the program information via an input/output I/O chip. Logistics aside, what made this the ideal solution was the low cost of the ROM cartridges, and with Cyan's self-developed television interface adapter, TIA sound chip, both graphics and sound solutions were complete. Atari partners with Warner Communications. With all of the simultaneous technology happening at once, it was no surprise that another company would be developing the same concept at the same time. And the Fairchild Semiconductor Company beat Atari to the market in 1976 with the Fairchild Video Entertainment System, later called the Fairchild Channel F, which used the Fairchild F8 CPU, developed by Intel creator Robert Noyce. Atari was financially deep in the development of Stella and needed more revenue and power to make a release happen. Going public was not an option as the stock market was on a steep decline. With the threat of losing the entire market share at the hands of Channel F, Nolan Bushnell turned to a partnership with Warner Communications, today known as Time Warner, which eventually became a buyout. Bushnell remained on staff to run the business. 1977, the Atari 2600 debuts. When the Stella was finally completed and released in 1977, its name was changed to the Atari Video Computer System, but later changed again to the now infamous Atari 2600, after its manufacturing part number CX2600. At first, the 2600 released with a lackluster reception, but word got around fast and by 1979 it was a hit, selling over 1 million units in just that year alone. Unfortunately, the tumultuous times leading up to its success took a toll on Bushnell's relationship with Warner Communications. Bushnell left the company in 1978, just a year shy of witnessing the console's great success. Over the next several years, Atari continued to make history, outselling all of the competition with its ever-growing install base and library of games. Its biggest competition, the Channel F, didn't have the graphics or sound capabilities of the 2600, nor a corporate giant such as Warner Communications behind it. Although Channel F was the first of its kind, only 26 titles were ever released for it, and Fairchild soon succumbed to Atari sales dominance. The dramatic rise and fall of the Atari 2600. Atari's enormous success inevitably led to its very own downfall. As the company was now corporately run, the programmers became dissatisfied with their treatment. Atari had gone from a casual and fun workplace under Bushnell's management to a stuffy, corporate gig with little acknowledgement or reward of a job well done, a structure the video game publishing industry still suffers from today. Soon the programmers that helped build the Atari empire started to leave and form their own companies to publish games for the 2600. As the idea of a console with interchangeable games was still a new concept, and the previous generation of video game systems all cloning off one another, the copyright, patent, and trademark laws weren't set up to protect first-party console manufacturers as they are today. Soon the market was flooded with games, all designed for the 2600 and many made by former Atari programmers who jumped ship. These third-party publishers were able to work around the rights issues by never using the Atari logo, adding a disclaimer that they were not related to Atari Incorporated, and only acknowledging that the cartridge was designed for the Atari video game system. The video game crash of 1983. Soon Atari began suffering from the same woes that brought on the demise of Pong, not with look-alike games, but with an overwhelming number of companies rushing to get a piece of that 2600 gold, with a tidal wave of unofficial games. Many of these games were low in content and quality. Even Atari's self-published titles began to suffer due to rushed production cycles, and most of their top programmers having already resigned. Although many cite the release of the ill-fated ET game for the 2600 as the beginning of Atari's downfall, and the oncoming of the video game industry crash of 1983, it was more of an accumulation. Too many games, too low of quality, and very little technology growth in homes and arcades. Warner sold off Atari in 1984 to Commodore Business Machines, who immediately closed the game publishing wing, the legacy of the Atari 2600. In 1986, Commodore released a redesigned version of the 2600 as a budget title with the marketing tagline, "The fun is back." The system sold moderately well but eventually came to an end in 1990. To this day, the Atari 2600 remains the longest-selling home video game console ever, and many of its more popular titles are seeing re-releases for next-gen gaming consoles and handhelds, and pre-programmed plug-and-play units as retro collections. Hope you enjoy this video. Have a nice day. Subscribe and stay informed. Addicted to Macintosh.